undo all that hard work.
Deck the halls with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la.
Yes, this weekend is 12th night, which means it's time to take the decorations down. But if it's a job you're dreading, imagine having to take down the decorations of the whole town, the whole city, streets upon street of shininess. Now, it's all over, and it's time to find out how much council spent on our council tax on decorations and how much we can expect to see again next year after big cuts to council budgets this year. So, South Tyneside spent the most, £200,000. We'll hear from that council a little bit later. Other councils spent between 51 and 25,000. In Northumberland, it's the town and parish councils that decide the spend, so we don't have an overall figure there. There's a little bit more on that later as well. But one of the biggest spenders was Newcastle, which spent £175,000. Now, £50,000 of that came from the regeneration organisation NE1, rather than council taxpayers. Councillor Henry Morrison is from the council. Good morning, Henry.
Good morning. Lovely to speak to you.
And you. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you as well.
Now, the council have spent a lot more than most councils. Why is that?
I think that as Newcastle's the regional capital, you would expect us to spend more money, particularly because obviously, as you said, not all the money in Newcastle comes from the council. We currently spend £125,000. The great lights you'll have seen on the quayside, which many people have enjoyed during the return of the midnight fireworks, were paid for entirely by NE1. And I think you might be speaking to Stephen from there later on. And I think without the support that NE1 give us, we wouldn't be able to have the same scale of lights. And I think also in Newcastle, we're committed, of course, because of our budget, to having to find all the money from sponsorship after next year. We're hopeful next year we might do it as well, because obviously if we can find that money from that source, then we won't need to use any council taxpayers' money, because due to our 90 million of cuts, we're under a lot of pressure to not pay for our Christmas lights in this way anymore.
Do you have people knocking on the door wanting to come forward and sponsor the lights, or is it quite a hard slog?
I think that the fact that in Newcastle, obviously, businesses who all contribute to NE1 already spend a lot of money supporting the lights, I think shows the fact there is a lot of willingness to financially contribute. I think because clearly if people came into Newcastle on New Year's Eve to see the Winter Festival, which was put together by Newcastle Gates Initiative, or if they came in any time over the shopping periods, they'll have seen the huge numbers of people who'd come shopping, partly to come to a big city centre like Newcastle because of the Christmas lights. And I think the Financial Times and others in the Road to Christmas sort of said that actually lights like ours, the sort of scale of display that we had, does help contribute to ensuring that we defended retail sales against a very challenging picture in terms of online sales. So I think as a major destination for shopping, as a place where lots of visitors came in the run-up to Christmas, it will be irresponsible of us as a council not to support local businesses and some of the big businesses who operate in Newcastle by making sure that their retail outlets were surrounded, I think many would say, by some of the best lights in the country. I mean, particularly around Gray's Monument, the historic buildings there that we pay a lot of money to protect whilst we put the lights up looked absolutely fantastic. And I know that there are a lot of businesses and others who want to be associated with that because they see the opportunity, not just for themselves but for the city, in continuing to make us somewhere people want to come at Christmas, not just from nearby, but from across the country.
Well, if we just bring in Stephen Patterson from NE1. Good morning, Stephen.
Good morning.
Why did you think, right, OK, we're going to step up here, we're going to fund some of Newcastle's Christmas lights?
Well, it was really about investing in the experience of people coming into the city centre in what is a very important time of year. Obviously, retailers make the majority of the money, but it's also a busy time for the restaurants and bars and things like that. And really just want to create an attractive environment in the city centre that welcomes people visiting the city. So NE1 invest £50,000 a year in the Christmas lights, but that is to fund lights above and beyond what the council was already doing. So Henry mentioned the new lights on the quayside. We've extended them all the way down Granger Street, so you get a nice promenade all the way up from Central Station. So it's really about creating that festive atmosphere in the city centre.
But the businesses already pay council tax. Some would say, the rates, the business rates, etc., they're already pushed. So do some of the groups that you work with, would they say to you, you know what, we're already paying, do we need to pay again?
Well, as I say, I think NE1's investment was very much about adding to what was already there. So it was about expanding the reach of the Christmas lights, and certainly down on the quayside, providing lights where there hadn't been lights before and really extending the reach of that festive feel.
The lights and the decorations are only just part of it. Of course, there was the Winter Festival. There was lots of organisations involved in that, like Christmas time events. Lots of activity there. It's done by the Newcastle Gateshead Initiative, and Sarah Stewart can tell us more. Morning, Sarah.
Good morning.
So what is the Winter Festival?
Well, the Winter Festival is a whole series of events that happen throughout the sort of run-up to Christmas and immediately afterwards. And this year there were more than 30 events that we helped to promote. And we use those events both as an attractor to local residents to come in and spend time in the city centre, but also to attract visitors from outside the region to come here. And that also helps people, businesses within the region. It certainly helps retailers, because the shopping experience is a big reason for people to visit, but also enables people to spend time here, and that benefits, obviously, restaurants, bars, the theatres, and really gives the city a great feel during this festive time.
Well, we're talking money today, Sarah, so how much did it cost and how's it all funded?
Our funding for the Winter Festival comes from a combination of both from local councils but also from our partners. We have 165 private sector partners who help fund that, but also we get an increasing amount of money through sponsorship. And you talked about, businesses seeing the benefits and wanting to support the activities. Well, we've certainly seen that this year as well.
If you put that to one side, the sponsorship, and we look at the council funding, particularly next year, after the budget cuts, do you think it's going to be the same as you received this year?
We're still obviously reviewing what we want to do next. We've still got the ambition and the plans to run the Winter Festival next year, and that includes the big events such as Enchanted Parks in Gateshead, and also the Carnival and the Winter Carnival that ran through Newcastle City Centre on New Year's Eve. And we still have the ambition to continue with that sort of activity next year. We're in discussion with the councils now as to the level of support they're going to be able to provide, but their level of support is literally only one part of the funding package. So we're confident that we'll be able to pull together a funding package to be able to deliver a similar sort of activity and event next year.
Thanks, Sarah. Now, I just wanted to ask, if we're talking about company names and sponsorship, Stephen's still in the studio here, company names on lights and things like that, is there a danger that it could become very commercial and those that have got the most money will be able to get their brand out there?
I think so, but with commercial sponsorship, a brand will very much be looking to promote their own brand in a sympathetic way that doesn't draw negative attention to their own business. So, for example, Bond Street in London, their Christmas lights this year were sponsored by Marmite, with a kind of, you either love it or hate it type of slogan on that side of things. And that might be a big turn-off for some people, but the lights looked fantastic and it really enabled the local authority to put on a fantastic show on the street. So I think there are commercial opportunities out there, providing it's right for both the local authority and also the company looking to promote themselves.
Thank you very much. Thanks. That's Stephen Patterson. Thank you very much for coming in. Sarah Stewart and Henry Merson. We'll have a lot more about this after, as the morning moves on, really. We'll be looking around the rest of the North East. And I would love your thoughts on the decorations that have been in your neck of the woods. Has it really added to the festivities?